And just like that, so quickly, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another review recap of the hit Max original show. And just like that, it's your guy Lucas with my amazing, talented Neo Soul Guardian Goddess of a co host, Amaya. What's going on tonight?
It's a good night. The moon is out, so I'm excited.
Hey, we're working with a full moon here. I want to say Venus and Mars, possibly even Saturn, with its non-planet ass, is in retrograde. So we are here
It's a lot.
today,
Hmm.
a lot, to bring you episode 8 of Just Like That, or as I'm going to recall it, the Return of Aiden. So let's start off with the episode as we open it up with Carrie and Aiden spending, it seems like, all their time humanly possible
Yes.
in a hotel room like two love stricken teenagers. What do you think about the show opening this way, where we see them so infatuated with each other so quickly?
I mean, I'm not surprised. So, um, yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't think that I could see it going any other way.
Mhm.
Even though it's a little bit cliche, it's not because I feel like it's so authentic to the original Sex and City. So for me, I
Mhm.
was just like, okay, I like it. I mean, I want to do some of that.
Yeah, at first I thought, okay, this is moving extremely fast. But then you also have to understand everything that Curry's went through and understand the loss that she suffered. At times you tend to latch on to familiar things, and that helped it made more sense that her and Aiden would latch on to each other so fast here. But because of that, I want to stick with them and talk about their storyline. I know it's against the norm for us to talk about their storyline through this entire episode and just how quick that connection built. So the next time we even see Carrie and they mention Aiden is when she's at lunch with the girls and she brings up that not only is she planning on visiting Aiden in Virginia at his farm of all places, because Carrie does not look like the girl built to visit farms, but also telling all the girls, which is Miranda, Charlotte, and Sema, that Aiden wants to have a dinner with all of them there. Would you just think about the way, before we get into the SEMA of it all, because I think that's a big element here,
Hmm.
that they have that discussion about just them all getting together, and then the next scene, the next discussion between Carrie and Miranda, of Miranda asking Carrie, "Do you think you're moving too fast?" And what Carrie's response was that to.
Well, my thing is that are they so I always feel like time exists, but it doesn't exist, right? When it comes to what we feel is true love, you
Hmm.
move at the pace that you're comfortable with. And so when I look at them in the opening scene, I'm thinking I'm again, like I said, I'm not surprised. They have history. He's not a stranger. She's familiar with him. He's familiar with her. She has lost big, but I don't think that it's her grief that's pushing her here. I feel like she's had a lot of opportunities in the last couple of episodes and they've been missed connections. They just haven't stuck. And here she is with somebody who gets her. And they had a hard and tough conversation the last episode. So it's to me it's like this is right on the money. So when I see them having the conversation at dinner, I mean, as a woman, um, we always talk about if a man is ready and he wants to commit, he will do those
Hmm.
things that align with what commitment looks like to that particular
Mm.
woman. So I'm looking at him and he is showing I'm here. I want to be here. I'm choosing to be here. And if these women are as important to you as you say they are, then they are just as important to me. And I would like to meet them so that they know that you're in good hands. That's how I read the whole situation. And Miranda's response, I feel, is very Miranda. Um,
Mm.
I think that it was. while it's honest, this isn't somebody that's new, right? You can see the joy in Carrie's eyes, whether
Hmm.
it's a blend of infatuation and love and lust and smittenness, whatever you want to call it. You can see the joy in her eyes. I feel like as a friend, it is your job to ask the tough questions, right? You do want to ask, like, do you think you're moving too fast or whatever, whatever. But also as a friend, it's your job to listen, right? And you know your
Mm.
friends. You get to listen to not only their words, their body language, their actions. And so I feel like while I understand why Miranda asked the question, I just don't feel like it was necessary, right? Because if
Really?
I feel like you should do it, but I feel like and then she could have waited a little bit more. Like after meeting Aiden, then I would have said like, yeah, okay, right? Because at least you're giving the not the necessarily benefit of the doubt, but you get to
Mm.
explore this person, how Carrie is like how Carrie likes him, why she likes him, or whatever the case is. And so I thought it was just interesting because of Carrie's response, which means that this isn't just a fling. It's not just infatuation. It's not just sex. Like her heart is it with this person, as we will learn with her conversation with Sema. Right? She's not saying like, of course, it's a huge thing to say, did I make a big mistake? Right?
How about to say? Uh huh.
But I think that she didn't give herself enough time to just consider, like what Sema says, you've had two great big loves. And I think that sometimes we get into a space of not necessarily competition or comparing, but I think that's what we do. We compare sometimes, and it's not necessary. It just is what it is. You got to love one person, you had that experience, and now you're loving somebody else. I don't particularly care for Carrie's response, and I think that she slighted big because all the things that her and Aiden went through, all of what her and Big went through. Yeah, it's just
That's that's what I was going to bring up because she initially said these comments to Miranda. Now, when you say to Miranda, I'm wondering if if I made a big mistake, Miranda would be the exact person who lived through you saying the exact same thing with Aidan, where you said that I think I made a mistake of leaving Big to go with Aidan. So, could this possibly be for Carrie a coping mechanism where you're going with the thing that's familiar, so you're leaning into it faster because it's familiar, but you're kind of actually ignoring the reason that you and Aiden broke up? It wasn't something simple. It wasn't a simple reason that them two broke up.
right.
It was a very deep rooted issue of why they broke up and why she went back to Big. But now, with Big being gone, you immediately jump back into everything with Aiden. So that's why I thought that it was important for Miranda to ask that question because Miranda had to live through the Carrie and Aiden relationship, the Carrie and
Mm-hmm.
Aiden breakup, the Carrie getting back with Big, coming to the realization that maybe she was using Aiden to push Big away. And and maybe that's why Miranda's like, wait a minute, do you think you're moving too fast with this situation? Because I've been through this Aiden thing with you already.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand, as Miranda pointed out, I think in the last episode, when she was happy with Curry, like maybe you finally moved on. Maybe you finally like have let Big go. But now instead of letting Big go and moving on to someone new, all you did was backtrack to a
Well,
place that made you happy again. And is that a coping mechanism more than you actually falling for Aiden?
but I don't. So I think that when we talk about backtracking, right? Because there's been a decade between them. They're not the same people.
Not at all.
The he could have been comfortable, but that whole situation could have went completely different than what is happening right now, right?
Hmm.
And so I think that when you talk about backtracking, you have to be mindful that people change. This man is now a father. That changes people. You have kids in the
Hmm.
picture. 10 years has gone by. You've been married. You've lived. You've lost. Type of situation. Um, while I think that I feel like in certain instances, you could meet back with the person you used to love or you dated that you did love or still do love, whatever, 10 years later, and the feeling could be completely different. I think we're here
Hmm.
for a certain reason because they are different people. They do have this, like, the you can cut it with a knife, right? Because of how thick the air got around them when you get to see it played out on the screen. And so I think that while the question is valid, I don't think that what their experience is not valid. I feel like what they're
Mm.
experiencing with each other is valid. They are completely different people. They're in new spaces. They have grown, and we only can go off of what we see, despite what the past
Mm.
has been, right? So until they show up and they do the same things that they did once upon a time, then for me, it's like if it makes you happy and this is good, because we've seen her transitioning from the guy that she you know biked or whatever, the guy on the bike and whatnot. And I feel
Yeah.
like there was
Hmm.
another guy, but I can't remember who he was.
Yes,
But
the podcast producer.
right, the podcast. So we
Yeah.
saw the we in my eyes, you're experiencing the stages of grief, right? Like the the kind of going through it, the lack of acknowledgement, the somewhat kind of just sex, like you're just doing it to kind of just get it out type of thing. The wanting to like somebody, because I think she wanted to like the bike guy, but it didn't work out, and then now having Aiden. So I think that, yeah, Miranda's question is valid. She has her history and whatnot, but we have to also remember not to look at our friends, and even though the person that they might be with is someone old, we have to not project and look at our friends in the past tense and look at them for who they currently are, right? So I feel like a little bit of it is Miranda looking at Carrie and feeling like it might be some of the same behavior, or maybe it's something familiar, but how familiar
Hmm.
is it? Right? Like what has changed? You have to look at the whole picture, not just that one thing. The whole picture is that it's 10 years later. This man is a husband. She's lost somebody. She's grieved. She's still grieving, but that doesn't mean you don't want love. It doesn't mean you don't still feel what you feel. And so I think that that's like the biggest part. Like, remembering that even though the situation may feel similar or familiar or look similar or familiar, if a
Hmm.
long amount of time has passed, it's a new situation. And these are new people, despite them still being somebody you know.
So I'll ask one more question before we go into uh the next character in this episode, because I think, or the next topic with Aidan and Carrie, because then there's the Sema of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's a possibility? Because what we've only seen so far, especially in this episode with Aidan and Carrie, is her acquiescing to the things that make Aidan comfortable. Because that's kind of what led to them having issues in the original Sex and the City, is that Carrie was willing to acquiesce to things to make him more comfortable until she realized making you comfortable wasn't necessarily going to make me happy. And could it be a situation where your friends notice that you're going down the exact same pattern, even though you're two completely different people? But if the pattern is exactly the same, and part of that pattern is you're not necessarily dealing with your issues, part of it is being Carrie moved back to that apartment because she viewed that as her safe space.
Mm-hmm.
She viewed that as a place of comfort. Aiden comes in a picture and you're willing to completely destroy your safe space, which is not something that normally happens with people who are dealing with their emotional trauma, is destroying their own safe space to make someone else comfortable. So I'm
But
not
is she
necessarily saying that
destroying it though?
Miranda is going. I'm I'm saying destroying because in the sense that you're now attempting to say you're willing to move on with Aiden, but part of you moving on with Aiden is that you can't go to your safe space ever again because he can't be there.
Well, I don't think it's
So
that she can't go ever again, right? So I think that it's I feel like it's a little dangerous to say that she's giving up her safe space, because I feel like you'll always and let's be clear that sometimes for most people, when you get to a certain stage, your safe space is not
mhm,
just physically that place, right? Um if acquiescing is her like deciding, hey, we're just gonna Airbnb when you're in town. If you're here for 1 week at a time, you still have your safe space when he's not here. If the I'm assuming we can go into like the store scene and how he wants to buy certain things and whatnot. But if you're a cook, right?
you're gonna want
I'm
things.
not
Yeah.
gonna yeah, I'm not gonna be like, no, we should not get this shaker, you know what I mean? Let's get the other one because you're a chef. This is what you do. Food is, hey, listen, okay, cool. If it's something where she's really not speaking up for herself, then I would say absolutely. But we've seen her getting bolder and bolder each episode we go into, and so I can't necessarily say that she's acquiescing, because I don't think that she is.
Do you think that she's moved backwards with Aiden though? We saw
I
her
don't.
get bolder with new people.
Hmm.
But what I've noticed, especially in this episode, is that kind of the same issues they had in Sex and the City, she went directly back to those issues of her, hey, this is what Aiden wants. I'm going to do with what Aiden wants. I'm going to do what makes him comfortable. Eventually, that's what led to them actually breaking up, is her
Hmm.
saying, I put you before me. And if
I
I keep
think.
on putting you before me, there's no room for me to be me. And that's what I mean by possibly, because I'm not saying it's 100%
Hmm.
sure,
Hmm.
but that's what I mean by possibly her giving up her safe space. Because at this point, can you build a life with someone, or where you're visiting them, but they can never go to the place that you feel most comfortable? Because I think it's clear she doesn't feel most comfortable at Shay's place, but it makes Aiden feel comfortable
Hmm.
as when she visited Shay, because Aiden feels uncomfortable at her place. And then she says, and then when he's not in town, I'll go back home. But at what point do you get to the point of saying, this is the place I feel most comfortable?
But
If you
let's be.
can't be here, is it a problem? And I'm just talking about from Carrie, not necessarily in the perspective of everyone else,
No,
because
I
we
got you.
understand she is very much a unique person for even going back there.
Let's just point out that these are rich people problems. Never, ever, ever,
Yes.
ever, 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 right? Because let's be real. This is New York City. Your condo, your house, whatever, is available after you left, and you like, come on now, like, come on, like
She
that's.
never gave it up.
Did she keep it
You know how
when they
much
were?
money you have? Yes. When her and Big was together, the reason she was able to move back in that apartment is because she never gave it up. She never sold it. So
Well,
she
that in
kept it
itself
the
is another kind
entire
of issue.
time.
That in itself is another kind of issue
But that's what I
because.
but that's what I mean by, clearly this has always been her safe space. You kept that apartment or condo or whatever it is that you're paying for while you were married to Big in a bigger place. And you
Yeah.
still kept that place. And now Aiden can't go back to that place.
I
Carrie's not
feel
moving
like.
to Virginia.
Well, I don't think she's gonna move to Virginia, but I do think at some point in time she needs to move. That's like, if we're being honest, you holding on to something for so long is a sign that you don't want to change, because it's something like you
Yes.
can. It
Mm-hmm.
don't matter how many times I paint these walls in my house, it's still the same goddamn address. It's still the same place,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I don't know how you truly grow without actually growing, like without actually going into a space that's not comfortable, or that's
Mm-hmm.
that not that it won't become comfortable, but it's new to you. So for me,
Because you
that's why
remember
I'm
when Sema
saying
tried to show her the place in season one,
yes.
and she was like, "No,
Yeah, yeah,
like I have the perfect place," and her perfect place was an apartment she already owned.
yeah. I think that at some
That's what I
point in
mean by
time,
Carrie being the issue. I'm not saying
yeah.
it's Aiden at all. I
No, no,
believe
no, no.
it's
I
Carrie
get
that's
you.
going to be the issue.
I
Yeah.
think that she definitely has to do some inward work, right? And I think that it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting that at no point in time thus far have we seen like excuse me, like therapy or something like that, for
Not
her.
at
But
all. Hmm.
I think in this particular moment, it's that the space is not comfortable, but because it's temporary, right? And I'm obviously doing that for a
Yep.
reason.
Hmm.
That it's okay for now until it becomes not okay. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
So I'll ask you about one more thing before we get into Sema's situation, and that was Shay with them visiting Aiden and Carrie at her place, and she asked a very difficult question. So why weren't you two together? What happened?
Hmm.
And Carrie quickly went to, I made a mistake,
Yeah.
which kind of completely dismisses Big being the love of her life. What did you think about when she said that statement to Shay?
I feel like this is a clear example of being in love with two people at the same time, or loving
Mm,
two people at the same time, loving them strongly enough that you are confused as to which one weighs more than the other. And not saying that you should compare, because really and truly you shouldn't. But I think that that was a simple answer to a conversation that I don't think they were really ready to have, especially not at
hmm.
that moment. So I'll chalk it up to, like, listen, the simplest answer for this at this moment is I made a mistake. Now I feel like at some point he needs to ask what, like, I don't know if he needs to ask honestly, but they need to have
I,
a
no,
conversation
I think you're going
because
down the right path. I think he
you
needs
know
to ask because when Big was alive, it was a very simple answer for Carrie. She thought Big was the love of her life.
yeah,
Now that this person is removed and gone, you see it as a mistake, but it's only a mistake because they're not present.
they're not present. Yeah, yeah. I
So
think
that
that
that brings up a bigger issue.
yeah, it
And I
needs
think
to
Eight needs to ask that question.
yeah, it needs to dive deeper into that, because that
Yeah.
is, again, like, we know that it happens. People do love more than one person at the same time, or in
Yes.
love with more than one person at the same time. But I don't think that you should diminish the love that you have
Hmm.
with one for the love of another. So
Yes. Now let's get into what I thought was a great conversation amongst friends.
amazing conversation.
I absolutely loved it. And that is
Absolutely.
between Sema and Carrie. As we saw, Sema was very kind of standoffish when Carrie asked her to the dinner and how
Hmm.
she was not responding to Carrie. And then they get to the hair salon and Sema attempts to walk past Carrie in hopes that Carrie doesn't see her.
Hmm.
And then Sema says, it's time for us to have the conversation then. I need a cigarette. And she tells Carrie everything that has been bothering her and saying, I just need space. And I'm going to leave it there because I love to hear your interpretation of when Sema said that. What did that mean to you when Sema said, I just need space?
the the entire conversation really resonated with me, because
Hmm.
I think that people don't I think that people are oblivious sometimes, not all the time,
Hmm.
that their friends, they're not that they don't consider where the space that their friends are in.
Hmm.
And so for me that was so real, because it's not that we're not happy for you, right? Like Sema, she reiterated that over and over. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, I'm not saying I'm not happy for you. I'm not saying that I love this for you, but it's a reminder for me that you
Yeah.
have had two great loves and I haven't had any. And that you're in
Hmm.
this space within the Hamptons, right? We're supposed to go
The
to the
house.
Hamptons and the
Yeah.
house,
Hmm.
all this other stuff. And she's like, I got the deposit back. Like, I can't spend my summer in this beautiful place, with being a third wheel. And I just had this conversation the other day with a friend of mine. Went out, was invited somewhere. By the end of the night, she was all up in this dude's face. I mean, making out the whole night. And I was just like, okay, well, guess I'm just gonna let myself out, And it's not because I'm
Hmm.
jealous or there's any shade, but it's uncomfortable. And when
Yeah.
when you want to be in love, when you want to, and we're talking about the biggest things, right? Because those are big. You want to be in love. You want to be a mother or a father, right? Those
Hmm.
huge things, they weigh on you. It has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with internally what's going on with you. And again, not out of jealousy or not being happy for the other person. So I loved every bit of this conversation, the authenticity, the transparency, the vulnerability
Hmm.
that Sema had to have, and the receptiveness that Carrie also showed by saying,
Yeah.
like, by, so first of all, by fighting, right, to say no, like, space breeds more space, and we know that she's referring to
Samantha.
Samantha,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
And so I love that she's acknowledging, like, what's happened, what she doesn't want to
Hmm.
happen, but also understanding what Sema is saying. And so when she
Yeah.
says, like, she needs space, and that they'll be okay, I love that for her, because I don't know if I've ever had those kind of conversations with my friends, and I can count on
Mm.
hands and feet, and on somebody else's hands and feet, the amount of times that I probably be wanting to. But because we live in such a space where it's like you'll be seen as a hater, or not happy
Hmm.
for your person, you just don't say anything at all, and then you talk about it to other people, and you just leave the friend's name out of it. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
to be able to have that kind of conversation, which I know can't be easy, and it's heavy, and it weighs on both parties. It was really beautiful just to watch it unfold with no malice, no anger, and, like, yeah, it really made my day. Like, that by far was the my favorite part of the episode, and I can't wait to, like, just in my head, it's like, yo, like, thank you for validating. I know there's gonna be a lot of people, and I feel like in the comments, that are gonna understand that
Yeah.
scene, but it's like, thank you for letting me know that I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Validating Seema's feelings and understanding her feelings had absolutely nothing to do with you.
Hmm.
It was hers. And
Yeah.
she owned it. That was the part that I thought was beyond being the best conversation in this episode. I think this is the best conversation of the season because
Absolutely.
this is an honest conversation between two friends of her saying, I'm happy for you, but
Hmm.
understand I'm not in the place right now where I can be accepting of seeing it all the time.
Yep.
Like, we were going to get this house because we were two single people
Hmm.
having basically a summer of enjoyment. The
Hmm.
moment you got with somebody, you immediately became a we. It's not like you met this person and you're growing to this relationship.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
someone from your past. So you're immediately jumping back into a relationship. When you do that, you immediately make me the third wheel. And I don't want to spend my entire summer being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Not saying I'm not happy for you.
And that's the realest
I
shit.
just need time to process my own feelings.
Hmm.
And that's important because that's a conversation, as you pinpointed, friends don't have.
Hmm.
But it's actually the conversation that all friends should have. When things make you uncomfortable, if you're actually my friend, I should be able to tell you, hey,
Absolutely.
I'm extremely happy for you. But boy, is this making me uncomfortable. And I don't want to come across as someone who hates your joy. I absolutely love that you're happy, but understand your happiness in this moment is making me feel small.
Hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with you, it has
Hmm.
to do with me. And that's why I need time, because I need time with my own thoughts, my own feelings,
Yeah.
nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
I loved it at the end when she shows up to the dinner
Hmm.
and she says, thank you
For the
for giving me
space.
the time. The space, I'm sorry, I said time. But thank
Yeah.
you for giving me the space.
Yeah.
Because that's what true friendship is, of understanding
Absolutely.
you need a moment. That's all it is. You need a
Yeah.
moment. Not a problem. I'm
Yeah.
willing to give you that moment.
If people don't watch this show at all, I would totally recommend just watching this one episode. Like, that
Yes.
one episode is a lifetime of gems.
Yes. It And speaking of gems, because the other person who I want to talk about in this episode that I thought was so important, I'm trying to think of anyone else who's important in this episode besides this next person that we're going to talk about.
Mhm.
And well, actually, no, it's two people because I think all three of the conversations in this episode are important. But the next one I want to focus on is Charlotte
Yeah.
and accepting that your body changes with time
Mhm.
and everyone won't be youthful forever. As we see her storyline play out as her and Lisa go shopping for this dress, Charlotte finds what she believes is the perfect dress. But
Mhm.
we see her harp on, which unfortunately I see a lot of women do, and you harp on what is a minor imperfection and make it the biggest thing in the world because you're uncomfortable,
Mhm.
which actually should be the thing you focus on the most. What you think about this episode about Charlotte's, not only Charlotte's reaction to the dress, but Charlotte's reaction to telling her girls that I'm going back to the workforce and I won't be here at your beck and call anymore?
Charlotte, well, the fupa is real. Okay, it just
Yes.
is what it is. And as I get older, I'm like, well, listen, I gotta either get in the gym or just deal with it. And it's not a huge deal, right? And I think that sometimes the world puts so much pressure on us to be perfect or what we
Perfect.
deem
Yeah.
perfect.
Hmm.
And so it's hard for us to accept our bodies. But I love just I love the attitude between Charlotte and the girl at the store, right? Because Charlotte has this
Yes.
attitude. It's like, what was that face about? You know what I mean? Like, oh, she's 25. We don't know. And then the girl comes back with dresses she thinks Charlotte will like. And then Charlotte has the attitude, and the girl's like, well, what did I do? And she's like, you're just 25. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And so, of course, I just feel like Charlotte was being Charlotte. And of course, when you get older, you are looking at your body differently. And I don't feel like Charlotte has really been wearing fitted or close to the body
Never,
styles. Right.
never.
So,
This whole season she hasn't been.
right. So I think it just kind of caught her off guard. Of course, the scene with her and the girls, like, well, let me rephrase that, with Rock and what is
Lily.
Lily? Yeah.
Lily. Yeah.
They wanted Charlotte wanted them to be a little bit more sad, of course, because naturally, that's what you want. But these are teenagers. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is what they're waiting for you not to be home every day. But it's not like they're not gonna be, have any supervision. It's not like hubby won't be there, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But of course, as a mom, you want them to miss you, but they will
It's,
miss you when they realize how much you've been doing and you're no longer around.
there you go. I I also thought it was a very great scene when Charlotte is putting on a dress and she's trying to figure out the belt and she's in there with Harry and she's like, "You don't see this?" And he's like, "I don't see an issue with anything."
Yeah, he did
Like,
what he's
this
supposed
is
to
the
do.
person who absolutely loves her, who's like, "You're still perfect." But it also goes to, and I think it's an important lesson for men to learn. The issue is not yours. The opinion is not yours to have.
Mhm.
It's hers.
Yeah.
She has to deal with that. And that's something that a lot of older women deal with. I'm going to say late millennials to Generation Xers. And I mean late, like early, I should say early, I'm sorry, early millennials into the Generation X females as they get older.
Mhm.
This is an issue that they deal with of body confidence because that true confidence, I believe, isn't on display until we get to the later millennials to Generation Z, where they are fully accepting of you. What they used to say, you're gonna get whatever body I give you
Yeah, facts.
because I
Facts.
love my body.
Yeah.
And I love the scene where Charlotte is like outside the place and she's like, okay, she puts on I'm gonna call it the Skims jumpsuit to suck
Listen, she
everything
couldn't breathe.
inhumanly possible.
But what's
But
crazy
then
is
the
it still
moment
made it look like it had it there. Like, that was the nuts
it
part about
still
it.
looked
Like,
like it was there, it didn't go away. Charlotte didn't understand. You needed a waist trainer. You needed
yeah,
you
she
needed
needed
Jada Waiter to tell you, girl, get a waist trainer
she needed
and
the
put that
full
joint
body
on,
suit. Yeah.
or the full Skims bodysuit.
Mhm.
But I love the point when she got into the art gallery And then the leader of our gallery comes down, and she's a plus size woman
Mhm.
who basically said, "You gonna get this stomach because I love this outfit." And that is what gave Charlotte the confidence to understand no one cared.
Yeah.
It's all in your own head, but
Mhm.
it doesn't, it still didn't, I won't say invalidate Charlotte's opinion about her own body because that's still your body.
Yeah.
If you feel uncomfortable, that's still a you thing. And no
Mhm.
one could come to you and tell you how great you look because you need to understand it didn't matter.
Right.
And I love the message that it sends that accepting who you are at your age is perfectly fine.
Yeah. Body
Down to
positivity.
Charlotte looking at an old picture of herself. And she was trying to use that old picture to say, I need
Right.
to get back to this weight so I can wear this dress. Now, understanding that 25, 30-year old is gone when you're in your 50s.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it
No.
is what it is. And I
I,
absolutely love that for her.
yeah, I love the body positivity of the whole scene, the differences that all the girls or women shared
Hmm.
in the scene in the art gallery. I mean, and what better place though, right? Because
Yep.
it is an art gallery. Art is up for interpretation. Everybody's view of it is going to be
Hmm.
different. So, I do think I really did love that part for Charlotte. Yeah, you know, Charlotte be having some stuff with her sometimes, but overall, I love her.
Like, I didn't even notice the fupa until she pointed it out.
Nobody ever notices the fupa until we point it out. I mean, it's
Swear,
really our
I
own
just
thing.
saw a belt and I said, "Oh, that's a nice dress with the belt on." And then when she kept on highlighting, this is the problem.
Hmm.
Maybe don't. I, I'm gonna tell you all, women, and I hate to say I'm gonna tell women, but I'm gonna tell women something that you've been told multiple times. Men don't care.
Hmm.
Don't even notice it.
They like
Ain't a
it.
big
It's
thing to us.
weird. It's
Yeah,
weird.
like you still looked amazing in that dress. Yes, you may have a little stomach. Guess what? Who cares?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that's something that you need to deal with. But I'm willing to support you if that's your issue. But
Yeah.
in the end, it'll never be mine. I'm
Hmm.
perfectly fine with that.
I'm still finna go do some sit ups though, but all right.
And speaking of women accepting things, then we have Miranda, who takes on an internship.
Uh-huh.
All I'm asking this question because then I'm gonna let you answer this for me. How can you take on an internship with 35 years of experience and be surprised when the boss wants you to be the person who takes the lead? It's almost like Miranda was willing, and I think the boss said it by the end of the episode. Why are you willing to put yourself in their situation with the amount of experiences you have?
Hmm.
You're not them
Yeah.
at all. Why do you feel the need to fit in? And why did Miranda in this episode feel the need to fit in?
I'm still confused as to why she got an internship and not a job. I'm I didn't understand what was happening. I was very confused. And to go in, I feel like you know that you're going to come in with that amount of experience, you're going to like you're cutting somebody. You're cutting to the
Yeah,
front of the line. Like it just is what it is, right? And I don't know why she thought like she was surprised, but I guess because of the conversations that they had, right? Like telling her what they haven't been able to do, and then turn around and gets asked to do it, and she doesn't want to feel like the outsider, so she's willing to sacrifice herself essentially in order to say like, well, nah, you know, put one of these other people first, and of course they don't have the experience because they just got there, you know, like
exactly.
it's very weird. I don't know. Like I'm just kind of confused as to why internship and that. What was the internship for? It was for.
I wish I couldn't exactly say,
It was
but
a
I do know when
nonprofit
she
though.
talked. Yeah, when she talked to Carrie, it was like I just want to get back into doing something. It's her way of getting a distraction in a way for Miranda, but she immediately just wanted to fit in and be one of the girls. The moment you told them, I have 30 plus years at corporate law experience, you being one of the girls went out the window.
Absolutely.
As her boss told her, when you graduated from Howard, when you became a corporate lawyer, did you downgrade yourself for other people? You
Yeah.
didn't.
Don't
Why
start
are you
now.
willing to do it now? It
Yeah.
makes no sense. But then we have to think of Miranda to understand why it makes perfectly good sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's still searching for something,
Yeah.
for a fulfillment. And part of that fulfillment she thought was, I can fit in and be one of the girls. You can't. It's
Yeah.
impossible. You
Yeah.
have too much experience to be one of the girls.
Yeah. And
And her
listen,
cutthroatness is gone. The cutthroatness we are accustomed to seeing from Miranda does not exist anymore.
and that's not a bad thing because everybody grows, right? But don't throw
Yeah.
yourself under the bus to save other people who wouldn't save you. It's okay for you to come in, for you to get chosen, for you to be the lead because guess what? They can learn from you. You
Yeah.
can't learn from them. You can some things, maybe new emojis and shorthand, texting, but
And the
still,
way to text in front of people's faces and say, I'm not texting about you.
yeah, that was just a little bit much. But yeah, I just think that we're still seeing, like you said, Miranda try to find herself and find her confidence, find her, you know, her oomph to just be like, listen, I belong here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by here I mean anywhere when it comes to Miranda. So
Yeah. Now, there's a couple things that not big issues. Shay is still working at a veterinarian's office.
we
Carrie
knew
goes to
he was
see
going
her
this.
to rent the apartment. Who cares? Because Shay works with animals. I know this is what you all wanted. You wanted Shay to disappear altogether. And she's slowly but slowly just fading into oblivion of not
Yeah.
mattering. And this is what you all wanted.
Yeah, I saw
Uh
those comments.
Anthony, yeah, exactly. Anthony and Giuseppe. Who didn't know? And I'm going to say this, and I mean no disrespect by the language I'm about to use here. So please understand what I'm about to say here. Who didn't know his big penis self was not gay? He clearly was gay. He was a poet.
I didn't know he was gay. I just
Oh
thought
no,
he
he
was
was
a
clearly going
poet.
to be gay.
I mean, I
It's
kind of
not.
thought that was the angle that they were gonna play,
Yeah,
but just like off of the first interaction with Charlotte, I was like, oh, he's a poet. Okay, like cool.
and the
He's a tough
innuendos and
gentleman.
flirting back and forth with Anthony, I fully understood Anthony's point of view, which is I gotta fire you because I
Hmm.
like you and I am
Yeah.
not willing to go down that
Hmm.
road. But of course, Giuseppe hits on Anthony and kisses Ant like it's very clichéic in the way that they're attempting to build like that would be something.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting till you get to the point that Giuseppe is in his early 20s and Anthony is in his early 50s.
Yeah.
Like
I
we
thought the
gotta
same.
yeah, like we got to get to the point of understanding that part of it. No Sema or Nala this episode, so no black people. Just needs to just
Mm.
go shopping. That's all. That's all. We see her in a very flattering purple jumpsuit with
First of
yellow
all, I
scarf.
need that outfit. I listen.
Hey,
I I need. So what I need is for somebody to find me the Pinterest version because that's what they do on Pinterest. On Pinterest, they go and they look at the outfit and then they find the same exact outfit for like 10 times cheaper. So I need that. That's what I need. I need to figure out
or
how to
what you
get.
need is Fashion Nova and Sheen to get into and just like that. Because that outfit would have been posted on Fashion Nova or Sheen
I don't know about
before the
Shein.
episode was over.
They got that Rico thing happening. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
It's true.
I'm gonna just go
Hey,
with
but I'm
Fashion
willing to
Nova.
I'm willing to young thug it up on Sheen
Mm-mm,
first. Get
mm-mm. I ain't getting in trouble. I ain't getting in
let me
trouble.
get everything while y'all in this Rico. Hey, all you gotta do is give me a discount code. I'm perfectly fine. I'm just gonna buy it all up anyway.
I can't. I can't. Yeah, I
But
love this episode, and it's
mhm,
absolutely my top. And I don't know how they're gonna top it with
yeah,
another episode, but I love this. I hope to at least watch just this episode with my girls and have a real conversation. And I
Mhm.
feel like when people tell you that they need a moment, they feel uncomfortable, they don't feel safe, or they need some space. Like, don't take it personal. But also, if you're authentically and genuinely a friend, listen to what's being said to you and don't be defensive. Like,
Yes.
yeah. Don't take it.
And
Don't necessarily take it personal. Don't take it personal either. Just listen. If we slowed down and we listened better, we would respond instead of reacting.
yeah. And also, Aiden is the best Airbnb customer in history.
Absolutely.
I need look if you want to rent my house
The
and
blue
bring
pot?
me a pepper meal, nigga. That's all I need is a pepper meal.
No, give
He
me the pot.
he bought he bought two different type of spatulas for pasta.
Listen, that's how you do it.
Man, dog, rich people problems. He
Absolutely.
bought an espresso. I have an espresso machine. I know how much an espresso machine costs.
Listen.
My God, you would always get a 5-star rating for me on Airbnb if I ever Airbnb my place and you bought me an espresso maker. Like it's just amazing. I think
Yeah.
that's it for our final thoughts in this episode. They did a little story with Sema with this guy doing a Marvel movie, wanting to rent an apartment. I don't think it's important. I don't know if they're going to touch on that later on this season
Maybe.
to possibly start a romance of some form with Sema, but it's while the groundwork was laid, I think it just felt out of place in this episode for her.
I would like to see an authentic, surprising love for Sema. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't want it to
Yes.
be cliche. I just want it to be something that happened,
Yeah.
but not something she went looking for.
Yeah. Like she just ran into on the streets of New York, just ran into a random person. And it started a conversation between them two because that's highly important. I do love the way they're using Sema as the fourth member, though.
Yeah.
I think that's what this episode pinpointed more than anything else. It's not Lisa, Nala, Sema
Yeah.
is the fourth member. Sema was the one that Carrie wanted Aiden to meet. So I think they did a great job of showing you the new foursome for
Yeah.
Sex in the City.
I
So this
agree.
has been our review recap of episode 8 of Just Like That. Let us know your opinions on Carrie and Sema and how important is it to give your friends space when they ask for it. Let us know your opinions of Charlotte and how important is it for you to accept your body at whatever stage of life that you're in. And don't let the little things that may cloud your judgment become the biggest things in the world to you. And let us know what you thought about Miranda and dumbing or dimming your light to make other people feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
And finally, let us know what you thought about Aiden and him getting them a pepper mill for an Airbnb. I need a pepper mill. That's all it is. I just need
I'm
a
gonna
pepper
go
mill.
buy a pepper mill. Redo this whole
I have
house.
one, but I ain't got no more pepper in my pepper mill. So that junk just sitting there. I got a pepper and a salt mill. They just sitting there like, my
Listen,
guy,
ridiculous. Come on, do
where is
better.
our pink Himalayan salt and where is our peppercorn? So
No,
we could get the salt and the pepper and all over
I'm
again.
not doing this with you, sir.
This has been another recap review of Just Like That, brought to you from Big Gold Belt Media. Peace, people.
We'll see you next time.
I